It has really, over the last few days, this story's just escalated. The question is going to be, can the show, the brand, This Morning, survive the absolute turmoil they've had with, you know, its key presenter and allegations going all over the place about what people knew when and where? Can the show survive this?
Well, I don't think we're going to see the last of this story. It's going to roll and roll and roll. But the question is really what is a toxic workplace? And whether that can be assessed just, you know, in an inquiry within the show itself. Whether the show can survive really depends on the viewing figures. So when there was all that tension with Holly and Phil, they lost, you know, close to 200,000 viewers in a couple of days. And if that continues to hemorrhage viewers, then advertisers aren't going to be picking it up. And I think that's really where it lies. Will the show still make money for ITV? Because if it still makes money, look at the way they've behaved with Love Island, the controversies around that show. If it still makes money, I think it will survive. And what's unique to This Morning is it does have lots of different presenters. Yes, Holly and Phil were the most famous, the most regular. But when you look at Alison, Hammond and Dermot O'Leary, they're very popular. And I think if people can get behind them, there might be a future for This Morning.
But, you know, Phillip Schofield this morning, you know, Instagramming that there was no toxic culture, no toxicity at This Morning. I mean, that is arrant nonsense. That's utter nonsense. Look at what Dr. Rav Singh said. Dr. Raj said, everyone who's been around This Morning for a long, long time has been talking about the toxicity. Also, if you believe what we've been told so far, only Phil knew the truth about his relationship with this young runner who worked on the show. They said, oh, we didn't know, we had no idea. Well, if you had no idea, why did you launch investigations? We know there's been a number of investigations into that relationship. So if you had no idea, what were you doing launching investigations into this, alleged affair? So, but my question really to you, Rebecca, is I would suggest that there are huge elements of this story we're still not getting. We still don't know the full truth. When Phillip Schofield says there was no toxicity, that quite simply, flat out, is not true from a man who has just admitted that he spent most of his career lying through his teeth.
I think the first thing with Phil, though, is that if we believe in the freedom of speech, he does actually have the right to defend himself, whether we think he's wrong or right.
Yeah, but he's lying.
Well, from his perspective...
He's lying about the toxicity.
I'm not defending Schofield here.
But he's lying about the toxicity.
But we have to remember, what is a toxic workplace? When you look at Dominic Raab and what happened to him and his situation, is bullying one thing to one person, one thing to another. The difference with Phil is that there has been multiple claims and multiple accusations. It's something journalists have known about for a very long time and have not been able to report on it.
What we actually know what happened this weekend is Dr. Ranj came out and he is the first person to say publicly on the record, when I was there, it was toxic. Phillip Schofield has come out and said, no, it wasn't. And to be fair to Phillip Schofield, what we saw on the programme this morning was the two presenters, Alison and Dermot, and some of their guests, Charles Brandreth, all who said, this is a happy place, we like working here.
Yeah, it's not true, though.
Well, it's not true for some people, it might be for others. I think it's far more complex. I'm not saying people didn't have a terrible experience.
These TV people, we're sick of them telling us lies. They're just telling us lies, loads of lies now. Why don't they tell us the truth?
But does it matter to viewers? Viewers at home...
Yeah, they stop watching.
But before, did it matter that it was toxic? If Schofield is the best man for the job and was back then, the question is, does it really matter? Does it matter if he's toxic behind the scenes?
It matters that they lost upwards towards 500,000 last week. 500,000 viewers from a show that only just about gets 1 million viewers. That's almost 50% of the audience. That matters a hell of a lot. Arnold Clark, the big car dealer, their biggest sponsors, has pulled out. Other advertisers...
Well, they haven't pulled out. They've not renewed their advertising contract.
They pulled out. They're not going to continue. This is a show being dumped in spectacular fashion by its sponsor, by advertisers, and loads of stars who don't want to go on it. It's finished. And also, I don't think that Holly Willoughby can be seen on that sofa again, because every time you look at her, you just think Phillip Schofield.
Or I think that's quite hard on Holly, because we don't actually know whether she actually complained. We don't know, because lots of people complained. We don't know.
With her.
But Holly shouldn't be the full person for this, just because she's the female attached to the show.
If the viewers watch the show and they think Holly Willoughby, Phillip Schofield, that is toxic association. And it's not against her. Her career is going to be great. She's a great TV presenter, very popular. But I think it's going to be very difficult for her to continue on that sofa. And if I was ITV, given that all the advertisers, the sponsors are all dropping like flies, I'd just cancel the show.
But This Morning is different to other shows. Like I said, there's lots of different presenters. It's not like with Ellen DeGeneres in the US, you know, when all these accusations came out about her, that show had to finish. She lost 1 million viewers, that's a big audience, and it had to finish because it's just one person. But This Morning isn't just Holly and Phil.
Is there a question about integrity here? For ITV executives, they've got to clean this up and work out if they want to persuade an audience to watch it, because their brand is friendly, familiar, jovial, light-hearted, where your friends are on the sofa. Could they say, we're going to put out an investigation, pause the show, September, come back with a fresh face? Is that one way they could rebrand this programme and revive it? Because for ITV, it's a really precious part of their programming.
I think that's exactly what they should do. Whether they'll do it or not, let's see. Because if people are still tuning in and people are connecting with Dermot and Alison, then I think it will continue. But the best thing to do, and the best thing for Schofield to do, would have been to have kept quiet. He shouldn't have said anything, he shouldn't have posted anything on Instagram, he should have quietly gone away and just let the dust settle a bit. But the problem is this story is going to gain more and more momentum now, because more and more things are going to come out. And I'm kind of concerned as well that more sort of dark, horrible stories are going to surface.
I think that is the problem, that we definitely have not heard the whole story here. There's more revelations to come out, I'm certain of that. I think there will be more heads that roll. 21 years that guy was the face of This Morning. Look how it ended, just like this, not with a bang, but a whimper. Here we go.
Bit coming up on tomorrow's show, he's the king of American sitcoms. Kelsey Grammer will be revealing all ahead of Frasier's highly anticipated reboot.
Michael Ball is stopping by to tell us why he's revisiting one of the most iconic West End shows.
And Nisha Katona will be making a delicious chicken curry to kickstart the weekend. See you on Monday. Bye.
Bye.
That was it, Rebecca. That was it. The 21 years, it just went, and that was it. I don't think we'll see him on television again. Now, whatever the truth of this story, and he's being accused of some rather nefarious activities, I feel sorry for him, because it was his life, 21 years, and it's just been taken from him ruthlessly and suddenly. We have to have some sympathy for him, don't we?
I think we should, and I think, like I said, we should have, you know, I believe in the freedom of speech. He should be able to defend himself. He should be able to talk about his experience of being on This Morning. It doesn't mean it was everyone's experience, but he found it, you know, as an experience. He is a brilliant broadcaster, and I think the question here is, does someone's activity behind the scenes, if it's legal, does that make him not suitable for the position? If he's a good broadcaster, is he the best man for the job?
I want to say this, Rosie, think about this. This is what's confusing me and why I keep saying there's something we don't know here. Because, look, in the end, what Phillip Schofield did was have an office affair, an extramarital affair. He was married, he had an affair with, turns out it was a young guy, but it doesn't really matter. It was someone at the office. Now, that's not illegal. That's not the end of the world. Why is he being treated as if he's committed the crime of the century here?
I think you've got to be really careful with speculation, Kevin. And ultimately, what's happened is that the strength of that programme was on the relationship he had with his presenter, and that relationship was then broken. That was obvious to people who work with them. It was obvious to the audience at home. And if you can't trust the person you're sat next to on the sofa, that the brand is kind of broken, regardless of what's happened.
Yeah, but again, what did he do that was so wrong here? I mean, it's not nice to cheat on your wife. But what did he do that was so
He lied and lied and lied.
Well, hang on a second.
It does present...
Everybody lies about their affairs.
But
I mean,
it
again,
does
not
present
the end of the world.
itself as slightly a sort of a power imbalance, because as far as the reports go at the moment, this was someone who was 15 when they first met, who then applied for a job at 18 years old, from a much older married man. Now, if the tables turned, think about the Me Too era, if that had been a female 15-year-old and a male presenter, would the narrative have been different? Would the reactions have been different? There's lots of complex things going on at the moment in this story. While I don't think, you know, necessarily at the moment we can't really say he's done anything wrong, like I said, does it affect his presenting, and does it affect the viewers' connection with what they had on the sofa, Holly and Phil?